This image is so familiar. We've seen it somewhere before. As you guys always know, diplomacy is an art, and a diplomat is an artist. Since it's an art form, why would anyone spill the beans about everything? Right? You have to understand what is subtlety and what is staging. For example, when this specific guest arrives, how do you receive them? For a VIP pro-level guest, you roll out the red carpet, have the military standing guard on both sides, top-tier officials, maybe even the president greeting them right on the tarmac. Have a B-2 bomber fly a few rounds, and then the host and guest walk hand in hand to a limo to get down to business. But for a guest who is basically a beggar in rags, only showing up to hitch a ride on your coattails and beg for freebies and bailouts, you just leave the runway completely empty. The guest steps out looking confused, and the entire flight crew from the pilot to the flight attendants all have to get off the plane, stand in 2 lines by the stairs, and shake the guest's hand like they actually mean it. Something along those lines. Recently, a photograph capturing 2 diplomats, 2 artists in their natural habitats, sent the public into a frenzy. The man Boeing is Mr. Masaki Kanai, Director General of the Asian and Oceanian Affairs Bureau at Japan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The man standing, looking visibly pompous, with both hands stuffed into his pockets, is Liu Jinsong, Director General of the Department of Asian Affairs at China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This image is so familiar, we've seen it somewhere before. A single moment sparked countless controversies. Some of you guys criticized the Japanese official for being so subservient and bowing so meekly in a groveling manner, while on a diplomatic mission. Others countered that bowing is just a part of Japanese culture. When the Japanese geezer bows, it only highlights his humility. Next to him, the Chinese chap looks utterly crude and impolite, so you guys started arguing up a storm. One side claimed Japan is now a pathetic joke, that all old emperor she had to do was throw a few punches, and Japan immediately had to send a diplomatic envoy to placate him. The other side retorted that there was no such pipe dream. Japan sent its diplomatic representative first to show the world its commendable goodwill. China, by acting so arrogantly, just made itself look bad. Oh dear, why are you guys so worked up? Let's calm down now and objectively assess which side the score advantage is tilting toward right now. China or Japan? Who will be able to pressure whom? Who will back down? As you know, the new female Prime Minister of Japan had been crowing quite boisterously. She stated that if China were to attack Taiwan, it would be considered a situation threatening Japan's survival, and Japan might activate a military response. The Celestial Empire was naturally furious, up in arms over this statement. The issue between the mainland and Taiwan is clearly a dispute between the Chinese brothers. What gives Japan the right to stick its nose in it? That was the spark that ignited the war of words between the 2 culturally related nations. China demanded that the Japanese PM retract her statement, but she absolutely refused. Old man, she immediately dispatched 4 Coast Guard vessels to circle the disputed Dao Senkaku Islands. Not only that, the Celestial Empire promptly launched live-fire military exercises from November 18 to November 25th. All vessels were prohibited from entering the waters south of the Yellow Sea. Note that this area is about 870 kilometers from the nearest Japanese island, close to the overlapping exclusive economic zones between China and South Korea. Therefore, an exercise in this location is strategically extremely sensitive. Old Emperor Shi clearly wants to put pressure on his Japanese and Korean friends, as well as the US forces stationed in their countries. Okay? You might say, meh, China can drill all at once. Soon, Japan, South Korea, and the US will also go out to sea and hold joint exercises to see who's really scared. But truly, Chinese cunning runs deep. Our almighty godly Chinese brothers certainly know how to exploit the opponent's Achilles heel, the economy. Never underestimate these kinds of blows, as our ancestors said. Strength lies in wealth. Power comes from money. And you can't do good deeds without means. Empty stomachs have no ears. The first front is tourism. You should know that late last year, Japan had just eased visa restrictions for Chinese tourists. But because of this tussle, the Celestial Empire called on its citizens to limit travel to Japan. The newly appointed chairman of Japan's Conservative Party stated that if the rude and unrefined Chinese tourists stopped coming to Japan, all the better. He concluded that China is only tough when the opponent retreats. Japan needs to stop making concessions. After this statement, all businesses related to tourism must have backed into a corner and started praying. You must know that Chinese tourists are the pillar of Japanese tourism, the advantage of a massive population combined with an increasing number of people with the means to travel far. Chinese visitors alone account for more than 1/5 of the total spending by international visitors to Japan. Last year, this figure was $11.2 billion. In the first 9 months of this year, nearly 7.5 million Chinese visitors came to Japan. Yet immediately after the government's call, Chinese airlines simultaneously implemented a policy of free cancellation for any customer who had purchased tickets to Japan. In just one weekend, nearly 500,000 air tickets were canceled. For China, this is a double-edged sword. On one hand, of course, the Chinese brothers have inflicted damage on tourism businesses in Japan. It's assumed about 10 million visitors a year. Obviously, an entire system must operate to serve that many people. Aviation, transportation, hospitality, shopping, dining, and so on. Chinese tourists are the largest source of revenue and spend the most, far surpassing other countries. Losing this customer base is like a blow straight to the heart of those making products and offering services. The evidence is that the stocks of Japanese tourism and retail companies immediately plummeted. Shiseido Cosmetics stock fell by 9%. Takashimaya, the group that operates a chain of department stores, dropped by more than 5%, while the parent company owning the Uniqlo brand also fell by over 4%. Experts even warned that tensions with China could cause Japan's GDP to vanish, take a hit of $12 billion within just 1 year, which is 0.29% of GDP. That sounds serious. But on the other hand, the current situation also affects Chinese airlines themselves. The aviation market between China and Japan is primarily controlled by Chinese carriers. The 5 largest airlines are all based in China. Therefore, the loss from these ticket cancellations will likely lean more towards our Chinese brethren. However, even so, the impact on China's aviation industry won't be too significant. It won't be crippled. The Japan-China market accounts for only a very small fraction of China's total domestic and international markets. Thus, we can consider this just a flea bite for the Chinese airlines. Stopping there wasn't an option. Our almighty Chinese brothers just found Japan's next pain point. Just today, they announced they would stop importing Japanese seafood. Oh, for crying out loud. The Japanese brothers had only just resumed exports to China a few months ago. Before that, they had been suspended by the Celestial Empire for a long time related to the discharge of treated wastewater from the Fukushima nuclear power plant into the sea in 2023, and that's not even considering whether Old Man Xi will pull out the ultimate trump card yet. That trump card is the very rare processing technology for rare earth minerals. Note the word processing technology, not rare earth minerals themselves. Rare earth minerals themselves aren't rare at all. The US has them, Australia has them, and Japan has them too. However, the Chinese control 90% of the market because they are the ones who can process it at the lowest cost, yielding the purest final product. It's a mystery what kind of magic voodoo our brothers mix up that makes satellites run smooth as silk. Truly the ultimate Chinese sorcerer class. Believe it or not, it's even a superpower like the US still sends the raw, rare earth minerals dug from American soil over to the Chinese for processing. The great President Trump started a trade war with old Emperor Xi, but with this one ace up their sleeve and a basket full of soybeans, Trump eventually had to back down. Without the rare earth minerals from our almighty Chinese brothers, the production lines for chips, cars, satellites, flint lighters, and F-35s all screeched to a halt. The Chinese indeed only launch blows that truly hurt. If the US is in that position, what standing does Japan have, guys? After the economic front, the Chinese also launched an attack on the cultural front. 2 Japanese animated films have been postponed indefinitely. Meanwhile, the new installment of the blockbuster Demon Slayer is expected to be pulled from Chinese theaters. The current situation reminds me of the clash between China and South Korea back in 2016. The Korean brothers deployed the USDAD system, which greatly angered the Celestial Empire. The Chinese organized a cultural boycott of South Korea, banning group tours to the country. To this day, a soft ban remains in place on K-pop content. This is called the Dodd-style scenario, a prolonged period of coldness in political relations, economy, and cultural exchange. Could this scenario be repeated with Japan? Let's return to the viral photo. As mentioned, the diplomatic officials of both sides met. Some guys suggested that the photo of the Japanese official bowing was because he was busy listening to the interpreter. However, my warm heart refuses to jump to conclusions and accuse the Japanese official of being cowardly or subservient. Maybe his briefcase was too heavy, causing him to lean forward. How disappointing. Is there no one else available to carry the briefcase for the head of the delegation? But I do believe that the Chinese official, with both hands in his pockets, was intentionally acting superior. After the image spread, Japan's chief cabinet secretary announced that Tokyo had formally protested to Beijing regarding the Chinese media broadcasting the image of the Chinese official with his hands in his pockets while talking to the Japanese official. The Japanese side stated that they were not consulted beforehand about the filming arrangements. What do you think about this statement from Japan's chief cabinet secretary regarding the results? Pocketed Hands official expressed dissatisfaction with the consultation outcome and stated that the atmosphere of the meeting was very serious. This means Japan still hasn't accepted the demand for the new PM to retract her statement. The briefcase-carrying official's mission was to reassure the Celestial Empire that the PM's statement was just words. We haven't changed our security policy. Please don't hurt our brotherly feelings anymore. That's the gist of it. The new PM herself admitted that those comments were merely hypothetical and promised to avoid making similar statements before the parliament again. Therefore, I believe that when the new PM said those things, Taiwan was merely a pawn. Her deeper purpose was to take advantage of the current US-China tensions to persuade the US to remove the shackles, straitjacket, and help Japan increase its military capabilities. However, I am quite concerned about the effectiveness and outcome of this policy. Should Japan engage in an arms race when its economy is gloomy and its population is aging? People aren't having children because the pressure of life is too great. Increasing military spending and demanding an increase in defense expenditure. 2% of GDP, 2 years ahead of schedule. Who benefits the most here? Could it be the large Japanese conglomerates, who are also the most crucial source of support for the PM's ruling party? Take MSI as an example. According to the Defense Capability Reinforcement Plan enacted in 2022, Japan's 43 trillion yen defense spending for the 2023 to 2027 period will make this corporation the biggest beneficiary. Between 2022 and 2025, the revenue of MSI's defense division, as a percentage of the group's total revenue, rose from 14.7% to 25%. The profit margin for this segment increased from 6.4% to 10.4%. The value of orders from the Ministry of Defense also increased 3.3 times. This increase is mainly due to orders focusing on long-range missiles, hypersonic glide missiles, Aegis destroyers, and other offensive equipment. In the future, as the new PM's administration continues to increase defense spending, the ultimate beneficiaries will be Japanese corporations, presented by MSI, which is the most critical backer of the PM's politics and party, just like how in the past. Thanks to the support of large corporations, Prime Minister Abe's cabinet held power for a long time. If she secures the backing of major conglomerates, she will clearly have a solid foundation to maintain power long term. But what benefit does that bring to the Japanese people themselves? This humble servant invites the enlightened ones, sages, to offer their insights in the comments section.